Thank you to our sponsor, MBA Growth Partners.
Welcome to Studio 501c3. I'm your host, Kim Jones, CEO of the Nonprofit Village, a nonprofit incubator that increases capacity and provides shared space for charitable organizations. Our show features nonprofit organizations that provide essential programs and services in Montgomery County. Their charities, the IRS designates as 501c3 because they provide a public benefit. And in most cases, your donations are tax deductible. We're also a proud partner of Montgomery Community Media. MCM is your public access resource that provides a variety of information and programs relevant to Montgomery County. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Michelle Joseph, the Executive Director of SGAP Leaders, the Student Global Ambassador Program, which positions students for post-high school success by helping them become agents for change in their communities and throughout the world. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kim, and thank you, MCM. We appreciate the fact and the opportunity.
So let's start by telling us a little bit more about how SGAP came about, what you envisioned when you were creating this organization, and where it's come.
Very good question. So first of all, I'm from the DC metropolitan area, went to Catholic U undergrad and Georgetown graduate school. But the interesting thing about it was I always felt, having been the daughter of two teachers, that there was something lacking within the educational system. So the full circle was an opportunity where I was diagnosed with cancer at the time. And luckily it was very early on, but through the recuperation process, I started to think through, what can we do to really help our educational system? So we got a group of students together and had a program where we took them to United Nations and talked about the plight of the child soldier and told them at that time about the Millennial Development Goals. These kids were so engaged and so excited that they decided to come on back and they wanted to find out more. So that was 17 students about a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And now, as we are 501c3 effective 2016, we've impacted 4,128 students, roughly in the DC metropolitan area, as also New York and New Jersey. Where we're going is we feel that our programs, which are standalone programs, where students learn how to use STEM to solve social justice and sustainability challenges, we're looking for us to wrap them around a curriculum and roll it out about and focused on climate change education. So we're excited about the next chapter as we move forward.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you are a cancer survivor. So we're glad that you came through that challenge. But a little bit more, you said you were the daughter of two teachers. What other experience when you were creating this did you have to draw on in terms of figuring out it's STEM education that you rely on for problem solving, or it's students in a certain demographic? What other experiences did you have to bring to this? Very good question.
So we work with underserved students, and our demographics for our current student body roughly is about 75 to 80% Latinx as well as African American. Mm-hmm. And then we also find that most of our students, 60%, are girls. As a STEM student myself, I was a biology pre-med major at Catholic University. I always felt that was important for the intersection of STEM and social justice. So this was an opportunity for us to bring it to life. And my son was my little litmus paper test. He was 11 at the time, he's now 24, but he was able to kind of bring it to the next generation and see how we could use STEM to solve social justice and sustainability challenges.
So he was your guinea pig.
Yes, he was.
So what role did he play when you were kind of building all of this?
Oh, this is amazing. He currently works at Microsoft Xbox, but prior to that, when we first started, he was feeling very isolated. We were living in New Jersey at the time, and we felt like we were in a silo. And he said to me, Mom, I want to meet other kids and connect with other people. So this was a field trip with his friends. And what I found at that time was when we took them to New York, to the United Nations, as we were driving, the kids in the back were saying, I've never left New Jersey. I never knew that the United Nations was in the United States. And afterwards, they were saying, okay, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the impetus for us to be able to bring it forward and really increase what I call global or cultural IQ, including with the STEM education.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go to break shortly, but we've still got a minute left. Tell us a little bit about some of the workshops and the trainings that you do, what happens, right there. We've got about a minute left before break.
Sure. I'll be glad to give you a quick synopsis. So we have 3 programs that are what we say our signature program. There's a Sustainability Challenge workshop, about 120 to 150 students from 5 different schools, mixed groups working through a renewable energy challenge.
Okay.
We also have our Think Design workshop, using design thinking as a methodology to deal with social impact issues like systemic racism, as well as how do we deal with the separation of students, in particular children from their parents at the border. And the third one is our SCAP Leaders Speak, which focuses on those who are 25 years or younger speaking about their own experiences to elevate and inspire the next generation.
And just real quick, did you end up building those programs on each other, or did you end up rolling them out kind of simultaneously?
Good question. They started off with the Sustainability Challenge. That was our initial program when it started. The challenge for us currently is that with the pandemic, we had to think through what made sense for us to hold on. And it made sense.
Okay. All right. So we're going to take a brief break, but when we come back, Michelle, I want to talk a little bit more about your Think Design that you just mentioned. I want to learn what that is. Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media will be right back.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Studio 501c3, your resource on exceptional nonprofit programs in Montgomery County. I'm talking with Michelle Joseph, Executive Director of SCAP Leaders. And Michelle, before the break, you had mentioned one of your programs based on Think Design. What is Think Design? How does it work in terms of social impact? I know it's a hands-on experience, but tell us what that is.
I'll give you a specific example.
Okay.
We work with the Leadership Training Institute, part of Kennedy High School here in Montgomery County. And we actually did a survey with the students to find out what was a compelling reason that they wanted to get engaged. So this was our first take of doing Think Design workshop rather than in person, doing it virtually. But the concept is design thinking is a methodology in which we think of and focus on human-centered challenges or problems. And we use an iterative process to allow the students to fail forward and come up with prototypes and solutions. It's very hands-on, it's very inquisitive, you ask a lot of questions, it allows them to do collaborative tools and text and work on different projects. We usually kick it off with what we call our SGAP Leaders Quick and Dirty Challenge. And that particular challenge is, how would you retrofit your own school cafeteria to accommodate someone's in a wheelchair, for instance? And they have to think through that process. And sometimes we bring wheelchairs into the classroom or into the cafeteria for them to experience it, and then talk a little bit about it, and then come up with a solution using Legos, Play-Doh, any kind of concept of a prototype. Then they get excited about it. They come back with different suggestions. When we apply that to systemic racism, which was a topic that the students chose, we thought through, okay, let's focus on empathy building, which is one of the core pillars of SGAP Leaders. We want to create critical thinkers, creative problem solvers, and then obviously empathetic leaders. So in doing so, we asked the kids, if you were Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old who actually, unfortunately, had killed 2 and wounded a 3rd person, and he's 17, how did the system fail him? What could the system have done to ensure this at-risk child, basically, to make sure that he was in a better position? So the kids actually looked at it through a different lens, and it allowed them to come up with really novel solutions. So that's our Think Design.
Okay, so that makes more sense to me now that I understand it from a different perspective and with the specific examples. Only about 2 minutes left before we've got to close, but outcomes. Do you have a quick story about a student that was involved in one of the programs, and then, years on or several years later, you saw the continuing impact of their experience?
I will tell you 2. One is Ifoma White-Thorpe. Ifoma joined us in 10th grade, and she was very shy, but very focused young lady and very competitive. We engaged her in 2 programs, our leadership series, which is at that time a 5-month program. Now it's a 2-year program, where we incorporate our Think Design as well as our sustainability and different leadership training. So again, this was a program she participated in. She graduated from that program. She participated in 2 other programs at the United Nations through our partnerships. And now she just graduated from Harvard University. She's going to be going to Harvard Law. She's in touch with us, and she's one of our speakers who comes back and speaks to the students. So that's one of our success stories.
Great.
She was unique because she got into all of the Ivy League schools.
Wow. Well, Michelle, we are out of time. I would love to hear the second story, so I'll probably have to have you come back at some point, and we can learn a little bit more about the future of where SGAP Leaders is going. But thank you so much for sharing this information.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Kim, and thank you for this opportunity. SGAP Leaders is truly my heart, and they are growing and developing, and I'm excited about the next chapter.
Great. Well, we're excited for you. For more information on SGAP Leaders, visit their website at sgapleaders.org. I'm Kim Jones. Thanks for joining us this time, and come back for another show on Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media.